With its 15th anniversary and the release of Christopher Nolan's new film Oppenheimer all happening in the same week, I thought it'd be a good time to take a look back at The Dark Knight and everything that makes this movie great. The Dark Knight is in the conversation for my favorite movie of all time. For one, I have nostalgia for it. I remember being 8 years old, sitting down in a theater, preparing to watch yet another superhero movie, and just having my mind blown because I didn't think it was possible for the main love interest to die, or for the bad guy to essentially win at the end. And 15 years later, I still love it because it really isn't a superhero movie. The Dark Knight is more of a crime drama than anything else that really delves into human psychology and is just masterfully made from top to bottom. So let's get into it. The opening heist sequence pulls you right into the movie because it's pure chaos, which is the perfect way to introduce the Joker. You have crew members betraying one another left and right with seemingly no rhyme or reasoning behind it. This whole sequence is engaging in part because it's shot entirely in IMAX. The Dark Knight was actually the first feature film to shoot with IMAX cameras because at the time it was just used for documentaries, and that results in this insanely clear image. After this heist, we see how Gotham has changed because of Batman. Criminals are now all of a sudden afraid to stay out at night, and he's even inspired ordinary people to take action into their own hands with these copycat Batmen, which I know is not what he was envisioning, so he still needs to go out there and kick some ass. One of the things that people always poke fun at in these Nolan movies is how bad the fight choreography is, but I don't know, I've never really bumped into that because to me, the fighting style just humanizes him because he's not invulnerable. Like, dog bites actually hurt him, and when he's hanging on the side of a van and he smashes into a pillar, it takes him a second to get back up. And he's got all these scars and bruises from taking all these beatings as Batman. And one of the things I love about this portrayal of the Batman is that you basically get the full package. You see him get new suits, new vehicles, new gadgets. You really get to see the duality between Bruce Wayne and Batman, where Bruce Wayne kind of comes off as this uncaring jackass who sleeps through meetings and takes dancers to his yacht. But everything that he does has some sort of ulterior Batman motivation behind it. Whether it's doing business with Lau so he can get a closer look at his books, or it's taking out these dancers to his yacht so that he has an alibi to suit up as Batman in Hong Kong. And you even get to see bits of detective work in this film, where he's reconstructing the bullet. But I'ma just be honest, I still have no idea what the fuck is going on during this scene, and I don't think I ever will. But the other big change that's happened in Gotham is you have this new hotshot district attorney in Harvey Dent. And Aaron Eckhart is perfect in this role because the guy just exudes confidence and charisma and is just fearless. When the guy on the witness stand holds a gun at him, he is unfazed and just socks him with a right hook. And of course, he delivers the most iconic line in the movie.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Alright, let's talk about it.
Aha, ha, ooh, hee, ha, ha. And I thought my jokes were bad.
So here's what I adore about this portrayal of the Joker. The makeup isn't perfect. It doesn't look like the Joker hired somebody to sit him down in a chair for 5 hours while they covered his face with makeup covering every single spot on his face. It looks self-applied, which it was. And I'm not just talking about the Joker in the movie, I'm talking about Heath Ledger in real life doing some of the makeup himself, and that leading to some really cool details like white makeup being stuck in between his fingernails in some shots. The motif for the Joker throughout the film is jarring. It's this constant buzzing noise that is so unsettling because it just keeps going and going, and you're waiting for it to stop. You're waiting for it to break that tension, but it never does. The Joker is also absolutely hilarious. The pencil trick that he does in this scene is hysterical. I love the little moments of physical comedy here where the Joker is kind of clumsy, so he'll slip while firing a gun into the air. Or when one of his guys tries to remove Batman's mask and gets electrocuted, he just jumps all over him. So he's hilarious, but he's also utterly terrifying. And he's terrifying for two reasons. The first being that he doesn't have an origin story, which dehumanizes him, makes him feel larger than life, and characterizes him as just this equal and opposite reaction to Batman. And the second one being that he is extremely intelligent. He knows exactly what to say to somebody to get under their skin and get exactly what he wants from them. So the next hour or so of the movie, I'm not going to touch on too much, but it's filled with tons of amazing action set pieces. You have the really fun sequence in Hong Kong, the very suspenseful sequence where the Joker threatens to kill the judge and the commissioner and Harvey. You then have the scene where the Joker is planning to assassinate the mayor, which leads to Gordon getting shot, which leads to an unhinged Batman taking out all of Maroni's men. And then you have the sensational prisoner transport sequence after Harvey admits to the world that he's Batman. And this is another part of the film that's shot in IMAX and is somehow practical. The part where the Batmobile jumps a car and explodes was done with special effects. The part where the 18-wheeler flips on its head was done for real with a stuntman driving that truck. And even the part where the Batmobile undercuts a garbage truck was done with miniatures, not with visual effects. But I wanted to get to this point right here, the interrogation scene, because it's not just the turning point of this movie, it's one of the single greatest scenes in film history. I love the lighting change that happens here, where it starts off in pure darkness where Batman is his most intimidating, but then it changes to these bright fluorescent lights where Batman just isn't as scary, and that perfectly reflects how the Joker sees him, how the Joker sees Batman for what he actually is, which is just a guy in a suit. But then the tonal shift that happens here is incredible, because it is so brutal and frightening, because as the Joker says, there's absolutely nothing that Batman can threaten him with. And then right after this intense scene where you think Batman might cross the line and kill Joker, it leads to one of the most intense sequences I've ever seen in a movie in my life, where they're racing to either save Harvey or Rachel. Throughout this sequence, your adrenaline is just pumping. Even the music has a little bit more urgency to it. And while all of this is going on, we cut back to the police headquarters where the Joker escapes, and you're just watching everything fall apart in real time, and shit is just gonna get worse. And even though I've seen this movie so many times, and I know the twist that's coming, when those doors swing open and you see that it's Harvey laying on the floor, it is still so gut-wrenching. And even worse, while Harvey is being dragged out, Rachel is saying that it's alright, Harvey, somebody will come, and she doesn't even get to finish that sentence before she explodes. So it's right here where you get a little bit of a chance to breathe, where you can just sit in this sadness and depression, but it isn't for long, because now the Joker is threatening to blow up a hospital. You're watching the Joker get exactly what he wants, where there's these civilians and cops all willing to cross the line and kill somebody. And then you see what Harvey has become, and you realize that that isn't Harvey. Harvey died that same night that Rachel did, and all that's left now is Two-Face. Ironically, Nolan didn't use makeup to design Two-Face. It's actually CGI, and 15 years later, it doesn't look dated at all. I also love that amidst this chaos of hospitals potentially being blown up, you have this twisted scene between Two-Face and Joker. The third act is just filled with non-stop suspense and mind games and just fuckery. You have the two fairies debating whether or not to blow the other up, all while you have hostages that are disguised as captors and vice versa, and you're just grinding your teeth at all the tension. But as these sequences go on is where you really get to see for the first time Joker's chokehold over Gotham start to ease up a little bit. And you realize that maybe the big theme in this movie isn't that anybody can be corrupted, it's that people are better and more compassionate than you think. But just because the fairies didn't kill one another, and because Batman quote-unquote defeats the Joker, it doesn't mean it's over. Because Joker has a great line where he says,
"You didn't think I'd risk losing the battle for Gotham's soul in a fistfight with you."
This line carries so much weight because it reinforces what makes this Joker, in my opinion, the best villain of all time, is that he's not a physical threat. Everything that he does is meant to break you, psychologically and emotionally. And it's funny that this line almost pokes fun at what modern day comic book movies have evolved into, where some of the more cookie cutter ones, some of the ones that are painfully average, are the ones that end in these very mundane fistfights that are CGI heavy and lack any real emotional stakes. As the climax unfolds, we see an ending where somehow the villain and the hero both win. Where the Joker wins because he was able to corrupt Harvey Dent, Gotham's White Knight, and Batman wins because he's able to take the fall for all of Harvey's wrongdoings, so nobody ever knows about them. And I love how this film concludes with these two juxtaposing monologues from Gordon, where in the one about Harvey Dent, he describes him as the hero that Gotham needed, but not the one it deserved, and Batman as the one it deserves, but not the one it needs right now. and my god, that is such great writing. So those are the elements of The Dark Knight that make it great for me. Obviously, there's a ton of things that I didn't get to talk about, like how great Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman and Maggie Gyllenhaal are. So if there's other things that stand out to you about this movie, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.